I'm Sia. I'm 18 years old at the moment. Currently, what I'm working on is GenPPT. It's basically an AI that creates PowerPoint presentations for you. I also have an agency on the side where I build MVPs for people. I did with GenPPT. I started it at 1 a.m. That's when I got the idea. And at 4 a.m., the first version was out. And the thing that I was doing, nobody was doing. So it was bringing 5 figures a month just from the Reddit post alone. You have the right customers, you have a funnel, you have all the marketing set up. If everything's working out, you're gonna hit 10K in no time. If there's any coders listening to this right now, they probably feel the same way because a lot of coders are very, very technical.
Welcome to the podcast. I mean, yeah, we've been chatting for how long now? Like probably a few months, right?
Yeah, it's been a few, but it's been pretty inconsistent.
Yeah, pretty inconsistent, but we still chatted and we met through a friend. We're both from Switzerland, both grew up in Basel. And I mean, if you could just quickly introduce yourself, I mean, what you roughly do and so on, and then we'll get into some other things.
Yeah, sure. I'm Sia. I'm 18 years old at the moment. I've been coding for around 7 years now. I think I started at 11. And basically what I do is I build successful, or at least some of them are successful, Saas businesses. So software as a service. It's basically like every other website, Netflix, all these sites are offering software to you. Basically something like that. And I make my money off of that.
Yeah, you make some money.
Yeah, I make some pretty good money.
And do you want to tell them how old you are?
I think I've said I'm 18.
Oh, you're 18. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just so everyone know, we're both pretty young. I mean, you just became an adult. So yeah, no, it's pretty impressive what you've built so far. But yeah, I mean, where did you start? Have you always been this entrepreneurial? Were you in primary school and you were selling chocolates, or going to like the Flohmarkt, which is the flea market here in Switzerland? Do you do any of that stuff, or do you just get straight into coding?
Honestly, yeah, I've kind of been entrepreneurial all my life. It started off with different stuff. I used to do simple stuff. I now cringe when I look back at it, like doing massages and all that stuff when I was in primary school. Then I started selling food during lunch breaks. And then it kind of evolved. One day I just started coding, started getting like, I tried to make my own games and all that stuff, and then it evolved into software.
And so at what age did it evolve into software?
I would say probably around 9, 10, something like that. So pretty early.
Wow, that's pretty early. And are your parents also coders? Did they teach you, or was it all just from your own will, I guess?
No, absolutely not. Initially they were completely opposed to technology, like completely. I come from an immigrant household, so my parents did not grow up with any electronics or phones or anything of that sort. So initially, when I started coding and everything, I was obviously making games, and for them, they only saw the game part, and they would tell me, "You're spending too much time playing games." And I would try to explain to them, but they wouldn't understand. So
were you playing the games, or were you also like reselling inside of the games and actually coding the games?
I was actually making my own games.
Oh, okay.
But when I was testing them, obviously, like you know how it is with like you change a few lines of code and then you test it again. So obviously you're gonna have a lot of the game on your display the whole time. So they saw that and they were like, "Yeah, you're playing way too much games." I was 9, 10 at the time. So obviously, if I'm spending more than an hour or 2 hours on this, they're gonna say, "Oh, you're too young.
Get off your laptop now."
Yeah, exactly.
And play with some children. Be like a normal kid.
Yeah.
And then so then you have your start. You were making games and that. And then when did you make the switch to, I guess, actually making money with the skills that you've learned?
Well, initially I sold hacks for games. That was like kind of my entry point into making actual software that people use. Because before that it was just games, but I never finished them. But yeah, that was actually the turning point. I don't know if you remember Among Us, like that
Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
Among Us hype. That was when I made like my first, I would say, few $100 a day, just from selling an Among Us hack, where people could like switch from imposter to crewmate and all that stuff, revive themselves. So that was basically the starting point, and then later it evolved into websites.
Mm,
And last year it actually got like serious, where I made the most progress and made the most money as well.
mm. And so when I look at, for example, my journey, I would say it's been pretty slow, but always like upwards looking, right? So I started off, I guess, making some sort of money when I was 15, and then with drop shipping, e-commerce, and then from there I got into Instagram theme pages, also made more money, and now I make a lot more money, but it's always been sort of, I guess, linear growth for me. But then for you, it seems a bit more exponential. So it started off slow with making the games, making the different websites, but then recently in the last year, it's been like exponentially. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Like sometimes there's periods in my life where I make no money at all, and then suddenly something new will pop up, and then I'm suddenly going to be making a bunch of money. And then there's always some
mm,
reason for why it doesn't work out in the end. But now with the recent growth that I've seen over the last year, it seems to be pretty stable. Yeah.
yeah. And so are you in high school, or what does that look like?
I'm currently doing an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So I go to school once a week, and the other 4 days I'm just working a regular 9 to 5 so far. Um, I have thought about quitting, but I need to get that diploma.
Mm.
Also because of the immigrant family
Because of the
household.
parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of need to get that done. But I think after that, it's going to be purely my choice what I do.
And you know, when is after that? When do you get the diploma?
It's going to be in 1.5 years.
1.5 years. Wow.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it's going to take some time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the gymnasium, which is the Swiss high school. I was doing pretty well in the beginning, but just throughout the whole gymnasium, and I was always looking to probably drop out, but I didn't, and I did until the end. So looking back, I think I would also I'd just recommend finishing it. I think it was a wise choice in the end. But I mean, in your position, let's talk about your current company. So, if you could give a quick introduction, what the SaaS software company does, and that what that looks like.
Absolutely. So currently, what I'm working on is GemPPT. I've already told you a bit about it, but it has changed a lot since then. Um, what it does essentially, so just for the viewers, it's basically an AI that creates PowerPoint presentations for you. Obviously, you can just use the web interface as well, but the initial idea was that it creates PowerPoints. And now I've expanded it to kind of also have an integrated editor and all that stuff. So it's not just a simple GPT wrapper or something like that, and actually has some features. Um, yeah, so I've expanded it quite a bit, and now I'm looking to expand it some more with some other features, but it's gonna take a while until that's live. Yeah.
Yeah. And now let's talk about the journey of how you built the actual software platform, because I've built many of my own. We're also launching many software platforms for at the agency for other people. I've talked to many other software founders that are not technical and struggle to even get an MVP out. So it's a whole process to actually get the software product out and running, and then monetizing is a whole nother battle, you could call it. So if you could explain the process of ideation phase to actually getting your first customer and then scaling, that'd be great.
Honestly, what I like to do is just shipping fast. I also have an agency on the side where I build MVPs for people, where I apply all my strategies. And my strategy is essentially just leave out all the theory and just get to the end product.
Hmm.
It's the same thing that I did with GenPPT. I started it at, I think, 1 a.m. That's when I got the idea. And at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., the first version was out. it was just super super simple. It was one input text and then a button. And basically, what I did is I made a template with the PowerPoint design and
Yeah.
then just let AI generate the content. It was super simple. Didn't have a login, authentication, absolutely nothing, not even rate limiting. Um,
Uh-oh.
but I published that, and I do everything on Twitter. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Build in Public.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically a space where people share everything they build as they build it, and that way you're able to build a community around it and get some initial feedback. Doesn't matter if it's from other founders or maybe customers. But yeah, that's how I did it. So I just shared it on Twitter. I think around 40 people went on the site and tried it out, and I got some super positive feedback. People said this is super cool. Yeah, I like this. This could be super useful, and that's essentially that was the MVP.
Mm.
And then I continued building on that.
And so are you using any no-code tools to build these platforms, or is everything custom coded?
Everything's custom coded
Okay.
from zero. I Back then I still used some libraries to make some stuff easier, but I've completely replaced those because they were super limited. They weren't actually maintained anymore. So now everything's completely custom built, from PowerPoint generation to how I'm saving the PowerPoints. Like, I've found a way to save PowerPoints not as the main PowerPoint file, but instead as JSON,
Yeah.
which allows me to save so much in storage space, which also helps me reduce costs on the back end, obviously. So I can have a PowerPoint that's maybe 30, 40 megabytes, and I can save it for maybe 600 kilobytes, something like that.
Yeah. And so when did you launch, when you were up at 1 a.m. and then you launched at 4 a.m.? How many months ago was that?
It was around 8 months ago.
8 months ago.
Yeah,
Okay. So wow, that's pretty quick. So
yeah,
since 8 months, you launched your MVP, you sort of got your market validation, right? Product market fit, you could somewhat call it.
yeah.
Um, and then what do you then do? You then started doing our whole login screen and actually creating a platform out of it. Was that your next step, or was it first doing more marketing? What did you do?
Honestly, I didn't even plan on growing it that way. It was not until like few friends told me I should actually make this a product that I actually
Uh,
added all the login stuff. Before that, it was just this cool little side project. I added more templates so people had more design variation. And then I saw students in my class using it, students from other classes started using it. So it spread kind of across the school, and other friends started using it. And I think it took like a full month until I actually started implementing authentication. And then it took maybe another month to start accepting payments.
oh wow, okay. And then who did you use for your payment process? Was it Stripe back then?
I used Lemon Squeezy. I'm still stuck with them, but I don't
Ah,
really like them. I would like to switch to WAP actually.
yeah. Are you allowed to talk about it? Why you're stuck with Lemon Squeezy and you can't?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no contract binding me. No, I've talked to the founder and CEO, I think, and CTO of Lemon Squeezy. They are working, or at least that's what they say. They say they're working hard behind the scenes, and I do believe that. But the problem is just that currently, like recently, they've been acquired by Stripe,
Yeah.
and now they're migrating all the stuff over, which
Mm.
means sometimes there's outages and all that stuff. So it's pretty unreliable, and also they take a pretty big cut out of your paycheck. I was able to negotiate on that, so I got it down from, usually you pay like 5% per
5% payment processing fees.
per transaction,
Wow.
and on top of that you pay another 50 cents. And
Yeah.
after talking to the co-founder, I was able to get that down to just the 5%. But still, I sell a low ticket,
Yeah.
so it makes absolutely no sense because in the end I end up paying so much with VAT and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we, I recently processed a transaction of, I think it was 12K on Stripe, and I I was charged $400 or so in payment processing fees.
That's actually pretty good in comparison to
Really?
yeah. Every time I look at it, I just see like after everything, maybe 20% is gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was bad. Then I guess, yeah.
But honestly, I can't complain about since it's a merchant of record. They actually handle the disputes pretty well.
So
That's a really strong point.
similar to WAP, right?
Exactly, yeah. Similar to WAP, if you have a dispute on WAP, it goes into the resolution case. It's not actually an official dispute, I think, because WAP has its own like resolution case center where somebody can say, "Hey, I didn't like this," and it's basically like a refund request.
Mm,
And as a seller, you can either accept it or deny it with a reason, because WAP can prove that they bought the product. And
yeah.
same thing with Lemon Squeezy. Lemon Squeezy fights all those disputes on your behalf. So, for example, earlier this day, I got another email. Hey, somebody opened a dispute, and they fight that on your behalf because they have the proof. Like they're basically the sellers of your product
I
since
see.
they're a merchant of record.
Yeah. Interesting. So they take the responsibility, you could call it.
Kind of, yeah. But you can
Okay.
obviously supply them with even more evidence if you want to. I've done
Yeah.
that a couple of times, and honestly, you don't even need to do it. Like most of the times, you win the disputes, which is crazy.
That's good.
Yeah.
That is good because I know other people that are in the e-commerce industry that are having problems with that. But then again, with e-commerce, it is quite easy because at the end of the day, if you can show proof that the customer has the product, then I mean,
It's pretty easy.
then
Yeah.
I mean that is there. There's no arguments against that. But let's just quickly go back to 8 months ago. You launched the product. You got a couple friends. They said, "Hey, you should actually put more effort into it and build it out more." How did you do the marketing behind the product? Was it purely all just Twitter and trying to go viral on Twitter, or did you use any other mechanisms?
Honestly, it's a mix between Twitter and the rest is kind of just luck, to be honest.
I mean,
Um,
network effect, I would call it. Or
yeah, fair. I mean, I did have the right network, to be fair. But I didn't think that some of the stuff that I did would have such an impact. Let's put
Mm,
it that way. So it wasn't like purely luck. Obviously, I knew what I was doing, but some of the things had a way bigger impact than I initially thought they would have. So initially, it was just Twitter. I had around 100, 200 visitors per week in the first 2 weeks, I think.
on your landing page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And initially, the landing page was the product page. I didn't have any signups.
Ah, got
So
it. Okay.
yeah, every single one of them used it. After that, when I started the authentication process, I think in the first week around 40, 50, 60 people signed up, something like that.
Yeah. These were
So
free users, right?
completely free. There was no charge, no limit, nothing.
But so you were paying money technically, didn't you
Yeah,
have?
I was losing money.
You were losing money. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was absolutely losing money. But in the back end, I had set up PostHog, which a lot of people might not know, but it's an amazing software that
Yeah.
allows you to track basically everything. So I use that to track all the user metrics and uh, see how users are interacting with it, what type of topics they need, because I still didn't know who was my main target audience. Like, who am I going to be selling this to?
Mm.
Initially, I thought it was going to be students, but I was disproven pretty quickly. Yeah.
I think could it also be the fact that since you were on Twitter, the type of audience that was attracted were not really students, and therefore it's more, I guess, corporate or startup founders, or
I
what
mean,
was it?
I have had I dealt with TikTok marketing and stuff like that, so I did try to reach students, and I had some videos go viral with close to 300,000 views. Um, but the thing with that is it converted horribly. Like
Mm.
people were constantly complaining that there is no free plan, and
Yeah,
that
broke
was
people.
I mean, you can't really blame them. They're
I mean,
students.
yeah.
But yeah, so it's mostly students that had this problem. So I can't really sell to them because I'm losing money on them. I've tried countless different things. I've tried selling it for $1 a month,
Mm.
which is actually interesting because I was trying to see if people are complaining because of the price. But when I put it down to $1 a month, that was when I got the most refund requests because
Mm.
people would pay that dollar, do their thing, and then they'd try to get that refund, um, just because it's like that $1. And yeah, so that was weird.
What people do for $1 is crazy.
Yeah.
And then so I also had another question around how you did your marketing. I looked on your website before. I saw you had an affiliate marketing page. Do you push that at all, or not much traction there?
Uh, there are some affiliates that we do have. It's also how I work with my email marketer.
Mm.
Just yesterday, I met up with him. We're starting this new campaign where we actually try to send out emails because we haven't done that in a while, just because of the cost mainly. All the software is so damn expensive because of the size of my user base.
Mm.
Um, so, for example, for him, I have the affiliate program where he can use his own link and get money for each sale that he brings into the software. Or also, I have some directories that have me listed there, and they
Yeah.
use an affiliate link, but
Mm.
I don't actually push it out that much.
I
So,
see.
yeah, most of the sales were actually, I can say this now because we got banned, but most of the sales were coming from Reddit.
Reddit.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. Because I recently heard Reddit pop up as like a marketing channel, and it's not that known, I would say. Not many people are talking about it.
I mean, the thing that I was doing, nobody was doing.
Okay.
So it's like it
Okay.
was a mix between social media because most people that are trying to do marketing for Reddit do it completely wrong. They try to just go viral on Reddit itself, or try to do that kind of stuff, or have their comment ranked all the way at the top and provide as much value. You can do that path. If it works for you, I'm not gonna I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say anything. But what I did is I wanted my Reddit post to rank on Google, because
Mm.
if I can have my own Reddit post rank on Google, first of all, I'm going to get a lot of traction, and a lot of it is going to be super high value customers because people trust Reddit threads.
Yeah.
Um, but then I would also control the comment section.
Mm.
So that is essentially what I had. Is I had a post up where it said, "What's the best AI PowerPoint generator?" And then I'd have one friend, or friend, not anymore. He's an ex-employee. Let's put it that way.
Oh.
Yeah, an ex-employee that wrote a comment where he said, "Yeah, GenPPT is the best one." And below that, I would have a bunch of friends comment below that and agree with him essentially, and buy upvotes for that, so it would appear on top.
Mm.
Just with that alone, we were making pretty good money. Let's put it that way. So it was bringing 5 figures a month just from the Reddit post alone.
Interesting. I have a friend on uh, Twitter. Maybe you've seen him, George Stock, or MakeUGC.ai.
I think I've heard of MakeUGC.ai.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a secret if you just go to his page on Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on. Basically, what he does is lead magnets. So
Mhm.
he's doing lead magnets on Twitter and LinkedIn, and he's doing quite well. I mean, he's also one of our clients at the agency, but yeah, he's doing quite well for himself. And these niche tactics uh, are somehow generating a lot of value for software companies. And that's what I'm also realizing is you just need one thing. It does pretty well in the start, and you just repeat it again and again and again. That's
Yeah.
exactly what he's doing, and it seems like that's what you did.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, kind of. But the problem with that is just like it goes against all the guidelines of Reddit, obviously.
Yeah.
I never thought it was going to actually blow up. So in the beginning, it was just like a single post that I made. And then there wasn't even the comment. I just edited it, wrote edit. I found GenPPT,
Mm.
which worked well for my use case. It was just that. But after like it took like 5 or 6 months for Google to index the page, and then it was shown at the top of Google.
Okay.
All
We're
right, thanks.
rolling again. Sorry about that. Okay, wait. Is it? Yeah, yeah, we go. Okay, carry on.
All right. Well, regarding the ex-employee, he was getting paid pretty well, 450 francs, Swiss francs per hour. Um, Problem is, there were some like kind of disagreements there because he wanted to have a part of the company. Um,
Ah, the equity discussion. Yes.
yeah, and the thing is, I told him multiple times because I was open to it in the beginning. Like in the very beginning, I didn't mind it, but later on, he proved himself to not really care that much because he's an entrepreneur himself. He runs multiple companies. He makes around 100 a month, like 100K,
Mhm.
and yeah. So the
I see.
thing
So correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the problem with the partner was his focus was on so many other things. This was like a small project for him, and so therefore he wouldn't value it. Is that right?
Not only that, it was just like because in the beginning we actually kind of like we were open to partnership. We were gonna do it, and later on, like I just saw that he wasn't doing the stuff that he was supposed to do. There was like oh fuck, there was never a contract or anything, but like we kind of agreed on text. Okay, we're gonna do this and that. Um, Later on, like that's why I didn't like the 450 was his usual wage, where for his agency, because he also has an agency on the side, so he has
Mm.
multiple companies and then also an agency. um, in total over 7 months he worked 14 hours.
Wow.
So yeah, you can imagine like
That's why, okay, that's why it averaged out to such a high per hour wage. I'm guessing that
exactly.
wasn't your plan in the beginning to pay him 450 an
Yeah.
hour.
So yeah, so that was kind of the problem. If he at least did the work that he was supposed to do, I would have been fine with it, honestly, because I really believe if you can put like 10 hours of work in 1 hour and you're just that good, I'm still going to pay you like I would someone who
Yeah.
worked 10 hours. I don't have a problem with that. If I see that you bring results, sure. He was responsible for SEO, like that was his main job. The
Mm.
Reddit thing is what I asked him to do, and it was part of the SEO.
Mm.
And the thing is, after those months, now in November, I texted and I told him I tried to give him this one last chance. And I told him, "Can you make a list of backlinks that we should buy for a new SEO campaign?" And it was going to be like a couple of backlinks. Budget was I think 2K,
Mm.
so it's decent for a backlink.
Yeah.
So that was what we were going to spend monthly on backlinks. It maybe accounts to like 6 7 backlinks, and so I told him that, and I told him we need it before New Year's. So yeah, 2 months of time, and December came around, and I told him I will need it until like the last week of December, Friday.
Yeah.
And then when that week came, I told him again, I told him I'll need it by this Friday. And then Thursday came along and I told him, don't forget, it's tomorrow. And then on Friday, I didn't hear anything from him. So I already knew he
Yeah.
didn't make it. But I waited another 2 days until Sunday. And that's when I told him, I was like,
Ah.
hey, do you have them? And obviously he told me no. And that was like, that was when I told him, yeah, we won't be able to work together anymore. I'm going to pay you for all the hours that you did work so you don't lose anything. Paid him 450 for every hour. On top of that, I paid the VAT, like the Swiss, because he's also Swiss. Paid him the
Ah.
8.2% on top.
Yes.
And yeah, next day I wake up, Reddit comments gone. He reported the Reddit post itself, so now that's gone as well. It had over 200,000 views, was indexed on Google and everything. Uh, Also invested a lot of money, obviously, into upvotes and everything. So yeah, all of that's gone. And rebuilding that would take at least 3 4 months,
Yeah.
which now is essentially going to be a huge effort just because of what has been lost. So we lost like 10K monthly in revenue. uh, 10K that I sent him. On top of that, I obviously had to rehire a new SEO agency. And the funny thing is, the new SEO agency, the founder of it, messaged me privately, and he told me like, "It's unbelievable that you were working with a professional before this, because they found so many issues on the
It was
page."
so bad. Yeah.
Yeah, no, before it was just him. So
Mm.
his agency is essentially him and his wife.
Interesting. Interesting. And these are all Swiss people.
I mean, originally he's from Kyrgyzstan,
Okay. Yeah.
and his wife is Russian.
Okay.
His wife lives here, but he is officially registered in Belgium.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting stuff. I mean, yeah, what a story. So, okay, so now you're running the SaaS,
hmm
and my other question was, why did you decide to launch an agency on top of running the SaaS? Are you looking to gain cash flow that you can sort of live off of, I guess, and then build the SaaS and eventually exit it? Or what is the whole plan and thinking behind this move, you could say?
I mean, I've kind of like created all these systems around the SaaS that it can run on its own. I have help center articles, so I was able to reduce the customer support requests by 90% just by answering the two most asked questions in a help center, which is like, how do I cancel and
Yeah.
how do I refund? Those were the two most asked questions. Obviously, if someone needs help.
Yeah.
So I just answered those. I have all these other systems in place where people can do everything themselves essentially. So it's running automated. I don't spend more than 3 or 4 hours a week. And I could probably reduce that even more to maybe a half an hour per week. So my thought behind it was just to kind of diversify, because I would like to be able to live off of either freelancing or agency work. So that can be kind of like my 9 to 5 income,
Mm,
with the only difference being that I can work from anywhere.
of
Uh,
course.
and then SaaS would only be like a bonus on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you looking to exit the current SaaS, or are you allowed to say, or what does that look like?
Um, well, let's put it that way. I would be open to it.
You'd be open to it. Okay.
I'd be open to it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
But I also don't mind continuing.
yeah.
So, like, it's not like it's in a bad position and I need to sell. Uh, I can easily continue it,
If
yeah.
you get an offer that is very attractive, you'll take it, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I have a friend that can help you out there. He has a lot of connections in the software space. But okay, so this makes sense, and you've got 1.5 years left. So I'm guessing you're just trying to make as much money as you can, and then do you have like a end goal, or you want to build a certain software company, you want to hit a certain number, you want to do a certain thing? Is there anything like that in mind before you graduate?
I think I don't really have an end goal like that. My end goal is more to just automate as many things as possible or make them as easy as possible. So yeah, right now I'm working with a couple of guys that have companies. They recently applied to Y Combinator.
Mm,
So they have some investment offers from people running 50 million, $100 million dollar companies. Um, I don't think I'm allowed to say more than that,
yeah.
but essentially, like a deal I made with him is, for example, since he's launching a new company and since he's going to be using a bunch of software, uh, he should just tell me what he needs and I'll build the software for him so he can reduce his costs there.
Mm.
So, for example, right now, I can't disclose this, but yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff that he needs, like these
Yeah.
very small things, feature boards for customers where they can request new features, customer support stuff, like very simple things.
But would it be, for example, he needs to use Loom internally? Are you, let's say, building a Loom that he can use internally? Is it like that big of a tool, or is it more smaller
It's even
things?
smaller than that.
Okay.
So Yeah, it's like really, really tiny SaaS ideas, like really centered around one problem,
Yeah,
with maybe like two or three features, not more. And that's what I build essentially. And I'll make every single one as a different SaaS. I will probably create some templates for myself so I can easily start up new ones.
yeah.
And yeah, that's gonna basically be what I'm gonna be doing. Yeah.
Cool. Interesting. So your goal now is just to build out a bunch of projects and see where it can take you. You're in touch with that guy on Twitter. What is the guy called that launches like a bunch of SaaS projects and now has like a course?
Oh,
He was in touch with you, right?
Marc Louvion.
Yeah, exactly. So is that the angle you're going for?
Kind of, yeah, yeah.
Because he also has a bunch of software projects, but I think he also takes projects on himself. Is that right?
What do you mean by that?
I think he doesn't he have some type of course that he teaches people on how to sell software. But I thought he also had like a model where he builds MVPs for people.
Oh, no,
Maybe
no, no.
is that not the
No,
case? Oh,
he has a boilerplate. So he
oh,
sells like a boilerplate template
yeah.
where people can use that to build their own SaaS.
Oh, okay.
Uh, but yeah, I'm kind of using his approach. It also worked back then when I launched GemPPT.
Yeah.
Because back then my goal wasn't to make any money at all. My goal was just to build a bunch of projects. And initially my goal was to code every single day, but that didn't work out. Um, but yeah, so now I'm going back to the roots of like I try to build as much as possible, and uh, at some point money is going to follow anyway.
Interesting. So you're not really focusing on money. You're creating whatever you can, and I guess seeing what happens.
I mean, obviously the things that I create are based around problems that I know,
Yeah.
so I'm not just blindly shooting off into the sky. But yeah, so
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's mostly B2B SaaS. Is that right?
honestly, GemPPT is more B2C.
Okay, got it.
Like most of our customers are employees.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess, yeah, technically B2C. Um, do you have a specific focus on, let's say, going more B2C or B2B? Do you have a, or do you not really care?
I don't really mind.
Okay,
B2B obviously requires a bit more privacy, a bit more security, and more features as well because of all the team stuff and sharing stuff. But yeah, I
okay.
don't really mind.
And then what about when you're going B2B, you can sort of charge more. That's what I've seen with a lot of the software projects I'm building is generally you can just charge more. Wouldn't you want to go into the B2B space because of that? Or are you not really focused on that and you're more focused on whatever problem you can find and then solving it?
Yeah, I'm more focused on the problem. At the end of the day, my living costs are still super low. And I mean, with both B2B and B2C, it's not that difficult. Or let me rephrase that. It's not that complicated to hit 5-10K a month if you have a problem that found PMF. So you have the right customers, you have a funnel, you have all the marketing set up. If
Yeah.
everything's working out, you're gonna hit 10K in no time. Um, but other than that, I mean, I have some friends who mainly work B2B just because it makes more money, and it seems to be working well for them. Like some of them make 80 grand a week, a month. Sorry, but I also have some other ones that are just selling courses, and they're making 90 grand a month from
Yeah.
that. And then I also know some other people with apps that have millions of downloads, and they're also in B2C, but they make way less money. So I think it's more about kind of what the product is rather than if you're B2B or B2C.
Yeah. And so it seems like you're primarily focused on building software applications for desktop. Are you doing are you building any like iOS apps or Android apps, or are you primarily focused on desktop stuff?
Honestly, I've been thinking about it because it's so convenient to just have an app on your phone, and I find it super cool. I've been thinking about like creating mobile apps, especially like in the self improvement niche, because I
I
feel
mean,
like that's the perfect type of app to have. Um, it's very easy to market as well.
and a
And
lot of competition.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you also in that space, or?
Yes.
Oh, really?
It's funny you say this. I've seen literally everybody is building some type of self improvement app.
Have you seen the Cal AI, UMax, and all those apps?
I mean, yeah, we worked with the Cal AI guys on a separate software project. We designed that entire project, and we might also be doing some other stuff with them too. That I don't want to quite reveal, but yeah, we're
All good. I DM'd. There's this 17, now
Zach
18-year-old.
Zach Yodagiri. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I DM'd him a couple of hours ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I've texted with him before on Twitter. It was a super short conversation.
Yeah.
He got straight to the point. He was like, "Do you know how to code in Dart?" I was like, "No, no response anymore.
Okay.
Nothing."
I mean, I'm pretty sure this is out there. They are actually looking for a lot of coders.
I've seen it. They're looking for web developers as well now. That's why I DM'd them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. But personally, in your position,
Hmm.
I'm not sure if it makes most sense to work with those guys. Uh,
Why?
the reason why is because they're looking to build a team, and when you're looking to build a team, you want employees. You
Oh,
don't.
so it's a 9 to 5 basically.
Yes.
But if it's remote work, it could probably be integrated into the
Yeah.
agency. Honestly.
Yeah, you could.
Hmm.
And to be honest, that's also sort of a route we're exploring with them. I don't really want to go into this,
All good. Yeah.
but yeah, we could talk about this off camera.
Sure thing. Yeah.
Because yeah, I think there is a way to make yourself seem attractive to them. But yeah, let's talk about it another time. But going back to the self improvement part,
Yeah.
so we're building a lot of apps around this particular niche. So our new model now is we are basically finding influencers, whether it's business influencers or very niche influencers, and making apps with them, mobile apps.
That's the same thing that everyone's doing now. It,
So
it seems to work so well. Yeah.
everybody's doing it, and but we're taking two different ways of when it comes to the approach. Approach number one is we just charge up front, so we charge them a fee. We'll design their app. Sometimes we'll also develop it, or they already have their own developers. Um, so that's one way of doing it, and then the other way of for us doing it is we'll do equity or rev share plus we'll charge an upfront fee. We'll always charge a fee just to eliminate the risk of it not doing well. Because
Fair. Yeah.
at the end of the day, we also have costs that we need to cover. So that is how we do it with the upfront fee. And we're doing a lot of those apps right now. Self improvement stuff, I definitely recommend. Um, and now that I think of it, I actually have somebody I can connect you with around that niche. And yeah, I'll remind it to me, and I'll connect you with like a marketing guy.
That
He
would be
does he
awesome.
does really well, and he's looking for coders.
Marketing
So
is my weak point. I'm gonna be honest. That's
yeah,
probably the only reason that I'm not at $1 million yet. Because I actually like with coding, I can be super consistent.
yeah,
And obviously, like if there's any coders listening to this right now, they probably feel the same way because a lot of coders are very, very technical. Marketing, on the other hand, is very like you need to be testing out different stuff the entire time. And honestly, with GenPPT, it was the first time that I was actually doing that right with all the A/B testing and everything because marketing is such a huge topic that I did not know before.
mm.
Yeah, so marketing is definitely a good thing
it's
too.
it's interesting you say that because I'm seen as like a marketing guy for the agency. I used to run e-commerce stores, software projects, and I'm always seen as the marketing guy. And oftentimes, when you approach just everyday people, you go out, you talk about what you're doing, you're often not looked as a not good person, but you sort of look down upon because you're just the marketing guy. and you're not the person actually building the product. So I think it's always a balance of how you looked at. Let me just go more in depth with this. So I was talking to this girl,
Yeah.
and I said, "Oh yeah, like I'm building this agency, blah blah blah. I do marketing and sales for the agency." And she said, "Oh, so you're like not actually fulfilling on the product?" And I said,
Oh
"Well,
shit.
technically, yeah, I'm not really. I'm actually getting the clients, because at the end of the day, both roles have value, as you're saying right now.
Honestly,
You,
I think marketers are the best founders
yeah,
because they're they're just good at finding customers. You can always improve the product, but marketing is definitely a different thing.
exactly. But I think both is very important.
Yeah.
So our agency, what we're specializing now is more on building the actual product, but more on the creative side of building a product. So we are designers at heart. So
Hmm.
what that means is UX, UI design.
Yeah.
So finding new ways of making the product better and finding ways of making the product more marketable. Like if you're doing some type of video about a feature, it will do really well because it's nicely designed and it's made to go viral.
You're focused on landing pages, right?
So we used to be more focused on landing pages and websites. Now we're doing more apps and software platforms.
Oh, okay.
So to be honest, most of the work we do these days is designing software platforms and apps.
But like pure design.
Uh, no, like I would say most of it for the software and app side, a lot of it is design, but a lot of it is also doing development side too.
Hmm.
For landing pages, websites, we mostly just do development. We use Webflow, um,
Okay, so no code tools.
no code tools,
Yeah.
yeah. And then for software stuff, we have different people we work with. For the app stuff, we have an app guy. We've done multiple apps with him. Um, and then for the software platforms, we have other people that we've worked for, I think over like years for.
Oh.
So I've sort of built up the network, built up the relationships with a lot of different people, and we're building a lot of different platforms right now and seeing, I guess, what pops off. And yeah, just building cool stuff, the exact same approach you're taking, and then building this podcast on the side. And I'd say both of those things are my priority. But yeah, I would say yeah, it's been a good podcast. I think we went in depth about how you built your software company and how you scaled it. I think that's really valuable for other people because I know a lot of these, not are they called indie hackers or the people on Twitter that are
Yeah.
building projects but aren't really seeing success.
Yeah.
I think a video like this will really um, help them in the beginning. Also, I talk to a lot of e-commerce people and a lot of just different types of business people that are not software people that are wanting to build a software company but don't really know where to start. And I think a video like this is really helpful because it's just a totally different way of thinking when you're building a software company. Because I think for you, you've always built software, so you
Yeah.
don't really know what it's like building an e-commerce company or
Absolutely no idea.
exactly. So for us, me coming from e-commerce, coming from the agency world, going into the software world, it's a totally different way of thinking and how you need to adapt your business to best fit your no how the best way to adapt your business mindset of how to sell software the best way. And that is yeah, totally different.
Yeah, honestly, I think in those cases, oftentimes it can also be good to just work together with other people and everyone just does what they're good at. You don't need to have a co founder. Uh, Honestly, I don't like the idea of co founders anymore. I used to like the idea, but
Yeah,
yeah,
as long as you have the right one, I think it's good.
yeah, too many times it fails. I've seen so many other people fail with co-founders. So honestly, now I kind of think like just having partnerships in place is actually the best way to go about it. So I think like having partnerships is the best way to go about it. Just having a marketer and somebody who's tech oriented. It's the same thing as essentially a CMO and a CTO. And those two working together, CEO can be left out, but
Yeah,
like those two working together can build pretty good products, like
Yeah.
can build exceptional stuff. And I've seen it countless times, especially like a lot of the very great not influencers, more indie hackers, actually have this in place as well. If you look at Marc Louvion, the example that we named earlier, he's a very techie guy, very much into tech,
Mm.
but he has a friend who's called
Okay.
Dan Kolkov, I think,
Yeah.
and that guy is very marketing oriented,
Mm.
and those two oftentimes work together as well. So Mark will send him a landing page and ask, hey, can you roast this, and get feedback from him. So just having the friends even is already enough.
Yeah. And that's a whole different different topic. But yeah, I just want to cut the podcast so it keeps it short and sweet for the viewers. But I think we should definitely do a follow up podcast and go more in depth about partnerships and just the overall business growth that you've seen, and the different projects you're working on. I'll be back in Basel in a few months from now. So
Where are you going
oh, I'm I'm going to Cape Town tomorrow.
again?
Yeah.
Bro, what? How come so many times?
I really like Cape Town. The weather right now is a lot better than this.
Fair point, yeah.
It wouldn't be dark by now. It would be light. The sunsets are beautiful. It's just I like to go there and work and also meet new people. There's a lot of interesting people to meet there. Not saying Basel there isn't. I mean,
Yeah,
that
Basel is a bit more boring,
is a
honestly.
bit more boring. You could say that. But yeah, I'll be back in May for, I think I'll probably be here for a few weeks. So yeah, we'll definitely do maybe a catch up podcast, and hopefully I'll have a lot more podcasts out by then and a bigger viewership. But yeah, no, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, bro.
Yeah, for sure, man. Okay.